here. These children are tied onto the altar, and there's also the beginning of bloodletting. So they've cut the boy some. He's starting to cry, and she's crying because they realize now what's happening, of course, and there's screaming. It starts to happen. The member of the cult, the child member of the cult, of course, is watching. She's very scared. She's reporting, and she's remembering that they made her do this and how bad she feels about it. But she can't help it. She's 4. These are adults. She's a victim in this process. As this ritual proceeds, you can see that there begins to be a lot of blood. You can see that the boy here is then cut open, again, along his chest, ripped apart, his organs taken out, and then he's dismembered. You can also notice that the little girl has lots of little cuts, and she's bleeding pretty profusely here from her groin area. So there's beginning to be a lot of screaming, a lot of blood, dismemberment, and preparation for the cannibalism. You can also pick up in this drawing the worship nature of this. Right. This is not just an event. This is a worship service that builds to a frenzy, builds up to a peak. And this, of course, is, as this person wrote here, preparation for the human stew. Here, the brother is dismembered. He's already gone. He's in the stew. And the child member of the cult then herself is brought up to participate more. The adult leader is cutting the little girl and killing her ultimately as the child member inserts other objects into the little girl. The element that's not really seen here but written in is the sexual abuse that always precedes the bloodletting. The members of the cult all sexually abuse the victims before the torture and the mutilation begins.
This is where the power of pornography in our society begins to play its role. It's the introduction of the bizarre. That pornography begins to be a venting and a letting of urges, and once it starts, it's never satisfied. And pornography is just the introduction. It's the little door to open to the mind.
Well, pornography, of course, is an addiction, and pornography, sexual stimulation, it stimulates the same part of the brain, the pleasure center, that cocaine stimulates. It's addictive. And, of course, sexual stimulation and the unfettered expression of sexual fantasy is a part of all of it. Absolutely not.
Anything goes.
As you know, the satanic theology is the reverse of Christian theology. Love is bad, life is bad, hate is good, death is good. So there's the kind of the breaking down of any limits on fantasy and imagination, and what the theology of Satanism does is says no holds barred, and evil is expressed.
Evil is good. That's their role.
There are scores of painful stories like these from people who have lived a hellish nightmare. One of Dr. Sloan's patients tells of having to watch an actual crucifixion conducted at Easter time when coven leaders kidnapped a young man, nailed him to a cross, mutilated him, branded him with irons, and then threw him alive into their bonfire. One victim tells of being forced to help in a torture and sacrifice of his own mother.
I've been out now for 14 years. I've only been able to laugh, and this is a serious statement. I've only been able to laugh out loud for about 10 years now. And I'm gradually getting better about being able to laugh and have joy in my life, because I hurt inside a great deal. Many times I think about things that I did and what I have done to other human beings. This is not a pleasant thing at all. It's very disturbing. I know that the Lord has forgiven me, and my problem is can I forgive me? And I know that I have to, and that's the fact that I live with. I do, and I'm getting better at it. And I have a wonderful, wonderful wife right now who's very loving and very understanding, and who has a deep understanding of the occult and Satanism from what I've taught her, but an understanding from the viewpoint that a Christian should take towards it. a caring, a loving attitude. I mean, if it wasn't for that, I don't know exactly how I would deal with it today.
You know, for years, police officers have had to deal with kids getting hooked on drugs and going bad over a period of a relatively short period in the life of a child, maybe 3 to 6 months, something like that. A kid can go from being a straight-A student to being a absolute disgrace. And what we find in occult groups are that a child can go from being perfectly normal, well-adapted, well thought of, to being a total waste in a shorter period of time as a month. And so frequently when we get involved in these things, it's because they have gone off the deep end in such a short period of time.
Have you seen some of these people come out of this? What are you seeing with some of these people now? Where are they in their development?
We're seeing people in the process of, we've seen a real spiritual sensitivity with these people. They know there's a spirit world. They're very sensitive to that. And they, because they're with us, they've committed themselves to healing and a change in their life. It's a long, torturous process. It is not a quick fix. How can you do this to a child?
A few people that have tried to pull themselves out of a group like this are traditionally females who are tired of giving up their children for sacrifice, something like that. But traditionally, the men don't get out very often. We do see situations where the kids get in, but because of free sex and drugs and the power and so forth, they ended up getting in over their head, and then they can't pull themselves out either.
Dr. Bashir Ahmed is a psychiatrist dealing extensively with young people caught in Satanism. Here he gives a profile of the typical recruit.
The kids who have difficulty at home, who are coming from dysfunctional families, where the bond between parents and children almost non-existent. These children are easily lured to the fantasy world, which they like it. They most probably like to read about magic, stories, fantasies, and they begin to live in this world. And when they see an opportunity to experiment something like this, they become very impressed. For example, for a 13-year-old going at midnight to a cemetery is a lot of excitement. His heart is beating very fast. He doesn't know what is going to happen. He has some fear.
A non-traditional Satanist stem from anyone who might have a low self-esteem about themselves, someone that is an underachiever, is not an overachiever, someone who is not charismatic in their attitude. Most normally a child that is been turned off by school, been turned off by his friends. Satanists will approach him and they'll woo him in because they will become his best friend. And after they get him, he's hooked.
Satan is at his most deceptive when he appears to be good. Such is the case with many of the occult practices in southern Louisiana. There, the tree tours, as they are called, are famous for their peculiar blend of magic, potions, folk remedies, and diluted elements of Roman Catholicism. We visited one tree tour who tried to explain some of his rather confused methods.
The power is written in the Bible. The verses of the Bible has been given, and no matter where you take, what part you take in the Bible, Jesus said that he's given power to all. These candles are for if somebody's sad, somebody have tears, and they keep hearing things in their home. The spirit is not resting, and it's very simple to cure someone with epilepsy. Somebody that falls in these kind of fit, take your little needle, and hold his finger, and just stick it just enough to draw blood, not stick it all the way we hit bone, just enough to break the skin. Take a little bit of his blood and put a little sugar in water and make him drink of his own blood. Just a little bit, about 9 drops of blood.
New Orleans, bustling city on the Mississippi with a rich and colorful history. Famous for its lively French Quarter, jazz, unique dining, and voodoo. Though most voodoo practitioners live in the swampy backwaters of lower Louisiana, some have set up shop in the French Quarter. One of the most famous voodoo houses is owned by Chicken Man, who recently granted us an interview. He turned out to be more promoter than magician.
Why do they call you the Chicken Man?
Well, I'm the voodoo king of New Orleans, and I do my voodoo rituals out in the bayou on my island. I use live chickens and live snakes.
What kind of rituals do you do, or what is it supposed to do?
Well, my rituals is mainly, I do those for healing and helping people, not hurting. That's the main purpose. And I do a lot of it, use a lot of it for keeping the kids off of drugs. You know, drugs is getting real bad now.
Well, what kind of rituals do you do for drugs, or that? Explain just some of the rituals a little bit.
Well, I get pieces of seeds from the bayou. And at night, we do our rituals, put all the seeds in a big circle. And while the drums are playing, we put energy into those seeds. And I pass them out to the kids to carry in their pocket. And when they think about going on drugs, they'll put that seed in their hand.
Not all Louisiana tree tours stay with the good magic, however. Fahrenberg, a pastor who continually confronts their oft-feared work, explains black magic.
I have a man in the church right now that when he first started coming, this man was blackmailing him that if he didn't pay him so much a month, that he was going to put hex and voodoo on him. And this man was in such fear that I literally had to tell this man, to tell that man, if he did it again, I was going to the DA's office. That's what I'm saying. If the people stand up and let these people know that they're going to be exposed, this man quit blackmailing this guy when I threatened to go to the DA with it.
Law enforcement officials are just now beginning to learn about cult crime and how to investigate satanic rituals. The slaughter in Matamoros helped to awaken the nation to a growing nightmare.
Matamoros is not finished. It's the beginning. It's the tip of a very, very large iceberg. And we're going to hear more of Matamoros. And the lady that was taken into custody, who she claims that she had no foreknowledge of these events and did not participate, I would venture to say she fits the exact profile of being the high priestess of this cult, as well as being the one in complete authority and in charge, not the Godfather. He was under her direct command. I think that our authorities here in the state of Texas have somewhat downplayed and may have missed the boat with her. The Mexican authorities have not missed the boat. They have her keyed in exactly who she is. And it's up to the authorities here to listen to them, pay attention to what they're saying. One Mexico authority down there stated that she exhibited 3 distinct personalities, one of which is this kind, sweetheart, all-American girl attitude. Another one that she exhibited is one that growls and bites and kicks and spits. She exhibits a third one that exhibits tremendous authority and power. That's why I say she probably is. She exhibits the type of personality and the type of demeanor and so forth of an individual that would be in power.
People don't want to believe the unbelievable.
Vicki Caldwell has been investigating cult crimes for the sheriff's office in Putnam County, Florida, and during the past few months has noticed an increase in activity among satanic groups.
I got interested about 4 years ago because a friend of mine up in Ohio, her son got involved and he tried to kill himself and kill his parents. And so I've been studying it since I came with the department. It's been about 1.5 years. I have noticed an increase around here with the teenagers.
What kind of things do you see?
Most of your self-styled Satanists, your dabblers, drugs, heavy metal music, role-playing games, animal mutilations.
In August of 1986, we had a double murder in which 2 teenage Parkers were found shot quite a number of times in a rural parking lot of a development which was going up. At the time of that investigation, we became acquainted with a term called Dungeons and Dragons, and as part of that investigation, we got involved in some of the occult investigations also.
Well, part of the number one, they understanding what they're up against. They have